Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something really fundamental. It impacts pretty much everything, careers, relationships, just daily life. We're talking about emotional intelligence,
Um, or EI. You might also hear EQ, emotional quotient.
right? EQ. And basically boils down to understanding and managing your own emotions,
Nice, right?
but also recognizing and maybe even influencing the emotions of people around you.
Exactly. Think of it less like vague feelings and more like a set of practical skills. It's not about being overly emotional or, bottling everything up. It's about knowing what your emotions are telling you and using that info wisely.
Yeah, and it's not just some, passing fad either. Daniel Goleman's work in '95 really pushed it into the spotlight, didn't it?
It really did. He made that powerful argument that EQ could actually be more important than IQ for career success, which was, well, pretty groundbreaking at the time.
Definitely. His focus was on these skills, things we can actually learn and develop to, handle our emotional world better.
And we should remember, researchers like Mayer and Silova had already done important groundwork, defining it more academically the ability to perceive, understand, manage emotions. Goleman, he really honed in on the practical application.
Okay, so for this deep dive, we want to keep things clear. We're going to focus on Goleman's initial five-part model. What were they again?
Self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. He did tweak it later, but this gives us a really solid base.
Perfect. So our mission today is to really get under the hood of these five, understand how they work together, why they matter so much for success, and, well, just plain happiness. And crucially, give everyone some practical takeaways.
Sounds good. Where should we start? The big picture.
Yeah, let's kick off with why is this stuff so significant? Why does EQ matter?
Well, the research is pretty clear on this. High EQ consistently predicts better performance across loads of different jobs. It's often what separates the really high achievers from those who are just, technically competent.
So like the X factor
Yeah.
sometimes.
Kind of, yeah. Especially in leadership. Think about it. Effective leaders need to tune into their team, right? Communicate clearly, navigate conflicts. That all relies heavily on emotional intelligence.
That makes total sense. You can be brilliant strategically, but if you can't connect with people or manage your own stress, leading effectively becomes, well, an uphill battle.
Precisely. Building trust, making tough calls that affect people, getting the best out of a team, creating a positive vibe. EQ is the foundation for all of that.
And it's not just work, is it? It must translate to personal life, too.
Oh, absolutely. It hugely impacts how we communicate with partners, family, friends. It lets us really get their perspective, smooth over disagreements more easily.
Build stronger trust, deeper connections.
Exactly. We've all been in those situations where a lack of EQ just makes things tense, like talking different languages, emotionally speaking.
Definitely.
And there's even research showing couples with higher EQ tend to be more satisfied in their marriages and argue less. So, yeah, ultimately it's about navigating the human world more effectively, whatever your goals are.
Okay, great overview. Let's break down those five components then. Starting at the beginning, self-awareness.
Yeah.
What's that really about?
Self-awareness is, well, it's the bedrock. It's knowing your own thoughts, feelings, emotions. But it's deeper than just saying, I feel angry.
Yeah, so.
It's understanding why you feel that way, how it affects your behavior, and crucially, how that behavior then impacts others around you.
So it's like having an internal emotional compass.
Yeah, and knowing how to read it. It includes understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, what you value, what genuinely motivates you. You need that self-knowledge to even begin managing your emotions.
And spotting your triggers too, I guess, like what sets you off.
Exactly. Identifying those emotional triggers and seeing the link, sometimes unconscious, between a feeling and how you react. That's key.
You mentioned internal and external self-awareness earlier. Can you unpack that a bit?
Sure. Internal is looking inward, understanding your own feelings, thoughts, values. External is understanding how other people see you, how your actions and emotions come across.
Ah, okay. So how you think you're behaving versus how others actually perceive it.
Precisely. And a gap there can cause real problems, right? Misunderstandings, friction. People low on self-awareness often struggle with decision-making, adapting to change, building strong relationships. If you don't know yourself well, navigating the world is just harder.
Makes sense. So how do we, get better at this? How do we boost self-awareness?
There are definitely practical things you can do. Journaling is a big one. Just taking time each day to reflect. What did I feel? Why? How did I react?
Writing it down helps clarify things, I find.
It really does. You can even use prompts like, what values were important to me today? Or when did I feel most authentic? That pushes deeper reflection.
Okay, journaling. What else?
Mindfulness and meditation are huge. They train you to observe your thoughts and feelings without immediately judging or reacting, just noticing them. Ah, there's frustration.
Sort of detaching a bit, observing without getting swept away.
Exactly. Another really important one, though maybe uncomfortable sometimes, is actively seeking feedback.
Ooh, yeah. Asking trusted people, colleagues, friends, how they perceive your behavior or emotional responses.
It gives you that external perspective. There are tools, too, like the Johari window, that help map out what you know about yourself versus what others see.
Right. That takes courage, but I can see how valuable it would be.
It really is. You can also take self-assessment tests for EI. They can give you a baseline, point out areas to work on, and regularly reflecting, are my actions actually lining up with my stated values? That's powerful.
And you mentioned the pause technique.
Yes.
Yeah,
Just creating that tiny space between feeling something and reacting. Breathe, count to 10, whatever works. It lets you choose your response instead of just having a knee-jerk reaction.
that pause sounds simple but potentially game-changing.
It can be. And notice how journaling and mindfulness work together. Journaling looks back, analyzing patterns. Mindfulness trains awareness in the moment. They complement each other really well for building that deep self-awareness.
Okay, great stuff on self-awareness. Let's move to the next one. Self-regulation. What's the essence of that?
Self-regulation is about managing those emotions and impulses effectively,
Wow.
especially, when you're stressed or feeling strong emotions. It's about staying composed, maintaining a positive outlook even when things go wrong, bouncing back.
So keeping your emotions from driving the bus, essentially, especially in tough times.
Pretty much. And it links directly back to self-awareness, right? You have to know what you're feeling before you can manage it.
Right. Makes sense.
Without good self-regulation, people might overreact, have outbursts, get stuck in negativity. We've all seen it, maybe done it.
Guilty. So is this something you're born with, or can you actually learn to regulate better?
Definitely learnable. It's a skill you develop with practice. Some people might have a naturally calmer temperament, sure, but anyone can improve. And critically, it's not about suppressing emotions. That's unhealthy.
Ah, okay. Good distinction.
Hmm.
So it's not about pretending you don't feel anything.
No, not at all. It's about understanding the emotion and choosing a constructive response, rather than just letting the raw feeling dictate your actions. Thoughtful response over impulsive reaction.
Okay, so how do we build that skill? What are the strategies?
Well, that pause technique is key here, too. Feeling angry. Take a breath, count to 10. It interrupts the immediate impulse. Deep breathing exercises are fantastic for calming the nervous system quickly.
Simple but effective. I always forget to do it when I most need it.
We all do.
Yeah.
Another big one is reframing negative thoughts. Consciously looking for a different perspective, maybe a more positive or neutral one. This is a disaster. Versus, okay, this is a challenge. What can I learn?
Shifting the narrative in your head.
Exactly. Identifying your known triggers and maybe reducing exposure if possible helps too.
Mm.
And cultivating positive self-talk, being your own supportive coach instead of your inner critic.
Right. Countering that negative inner voice.
hmm Mindfulness helps here too. Observing emotions without judgment lets them pass more easily, reduces their power over you. Developing distress tolerance skills is important. Learning healthy ways to cope when things feel overwhelming without resorting to harmful behaviors.
And sometimes professional help might be needed.
Absolutely. A therapist can provide great tools and guidance for self-regulation. And finally, keeping your long-term goals in mind can help you resist those impulsive actions that might feel good now but sabotage you later.
So it sounds like a mix of quick coping strategies for the heat of the moment and longer-term work on resilience and patterns.
That's a perfect summary. You need both the immediate fire extinguisher and the ongoing work to make your emotional foundations stronger.
Got it. Okay. Component number 3, motivation. How does EI define motivation? It's not just wanting stuff, right?
Right. In the EI context, motivation is more about an intrinsic drive. It's the drive to improve, achieve goals for their own sake, a commitment, taking initiative, optimism, resilience,
Yeah.
that inner fire.
So less about the carrot and stick the bonus or avoiding punishment and more about genuine passion or purpose.
Exactly. We talk about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic comes from within, loving the work, finding it meaningful. Extrinsic is external money, praise, status. And the research suggests intrinsic motivation is way more sustainable and fulfilling long term.
Okay. And how does that tie into emotional intelligence specifically?
Well, motivation impacts everything: engagement at work, productivity, teamwork. Emotionally intelligent leaders are often better at motivating others because they have the empathy to understand what actually drives people on their team.
Ah, so they can tailor tasks or encouragement to tap into that intrinsic drive.
Precisely. They align work with people's talents and passions. And on a personal level, understanding and nurturing your own intrinsic motivation is key for fulfillment and achieving what matters to you.
So how do we light that inner fire? How do we cultivate more intrinsic motivation?
Several ways. Finding meaning and purpose is huge. Connecting what you do day to day with your bigger values or goals. Why does this task matter in the grand scheme?
Okay, finding the why.
Yep. Setting clear, challenging, but achievable goals is also vital. You might know the SMART framework: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. That helps.
Hmm.
And breaking big goals down into smaller, manageable steps makes it less daunting, gives you those little wins along the way.
Yeah, celebrating small victories keeps momentum going.
Absolutely. Focusing on your strengths, finding ways to use them more often, that boosts motivation because you feel competent. Acknowledging your progress is key too. And reframing challenges as opportunities to learn and grow.
A growth mindset, basically.
Exactly. Cultivating autonomy, having some control over your work is a powerful motivator. Actively seeking out tasks you find interesting or exciting, and, like we said, connecting your efforts to a bigger picture or higher cause.
It seems like goal setting, especially when those goals really align with your personal values, is a really potent technique here.
It absolutely is. When your goals resonate with what you truly care about, you tap into that deep well of sustainable, intrinsic motivation.
Okay, moving on to number 4, empathy. What does empathy really mean in this EI model?
Empathy is your ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. It's about stepping into their shoes, trying to see things from their perspective, feeling with them.
So understanding and sharing.
hmm There's cognitive empathy, understanding their viewpoint intellectually, and then there's emotional empathy, actually feeling a bit of what they're feeling.
Got it. It's deeper than just understanding the facts of their situation.
Exactly. And it's absolutely critical for healthy relationships, both personal and professional. It helps you see problems from multiple angles, make more balanced decisions. It builds trust, boosts collaboration, creates psychological safety.
That feeling that it's okay to be open and vulnerable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's different from sympathy, right? Sympathy is feeling sorry for someone, empathy is feeling with them, understanding their experience.
Right. Subtle but important difference. So how do we get better at empathy? Can we practice it?
Definitely. Active listening is probably the single most important skill here. Really focusing not just on the words, but the tone, the body language, trying to grasp the underlying emotion and perspective, not just waiting for your turn to talk.
Easier said than done sometimes.
It takes practice. Cultivating curiosity about others helps too. Ask questions, read diverse books, watch films, try to understand experiences different from your own. Pay close attention to nonverbal cues, facial expressions, posture. They often tell you more than words.
Being a better observer of the whole picture.
Yes. And consciously questioning your own biases and assumptions. We all have them. Instead of assuming you know how someone feels, ask thoughtful questions. Seek feedback. Ask people if they feel understood by you.
Another brave one.
Yeah. But useful. Perspective-taking exercises are great too. Literally imagine yourself in their situation. What would you feel, think? People call it walking in their shoes. Role-playing scenarios can also help you practice seeing different viewpoints.
That walking in their shoes idea really resonates. Seems simple, but profound.
It is. And like I said, active listening underpins so much of it. When you truly listen, you gain that richer understanding that is empathy.
Okay, last one of the 5. Social skills. What does this cover in the EI framework?
Social skills here refer to the abilities you use to handle relationships effectively and influence others' emotions constructively. It's about building rapport, communicating clearly, managing conflict, inspiring others, working well in teams.
So it's about navigating the social world effectively.
Yes, but with a purpose. Goldman called it friendliness with a purpose. It's using your interpersonal skills strategically, but ideally for positive mutual outcomes. It's related to the broader idea of social intelligence, but the EQ component is specifically about managing relationships well.
Got it. So not just being chatty, but skillfully managing interactions.
Exactly. It helps connect with teams, boosts job satisfaction, improves performance. It's goal-oriented interaction aimed at positive results for everyone involved.
And how do we improve these skills? What are the practical steps?
Lots of things. Simple stuff first. Make an effort to remember names. It shows you're paying attention. Actively work on your communication, verbal clarity, reading nonverbal cues. Practice that active listening again. Be present in conversations.
Listening comes up a lot.
It's fundamental. Develop skills in conflict resolution. Learn how to mediate or navigate disagreements constructively. Learn to give and receive feedback effectively. That's huge for relationships. Cultivate rapport, find common ground, show genuine interest.
These all sound like things you need to consciously practice.
Absolutely. Join groups or clubs to practice in safe environments. Observe people you think are socially skilled. What do they do? Practice initiating conversations, asking open-ended questions. Develop assertiveness, expressing your needs respectfully. And just generally, make an effort to be polite and show genuine interest in others.
So it really comes down to consistent, deliberate practice in different situations.
Exactly. It's not magic. It's a skill set you build through mindful effort and engagement with others.
Okay, we've covered the 5 components. Now let's circle back specifically to leadership. How does all this EQ stuff really make a difference for leaders in practice?
Well, like we touched on, high EQ is a massive advantage for leaders. It directly impacts their decision-making. Because they're more self-aware and can regulate their emotions, they think more clearly under pressure. They don't make rash, emotional decisions.
They can stay calm when things get heated.
Right. And their empathy means they consider how decisions affect their people, leading to more inclusive, thoughtful choices. Plus, their social skills help them communicate decisions effectively, build buy-in, get everyone on board. They see both the logical and the human side of issues.
So it integrates the head and the heart in decision-making.
That's a great way to put it. They're less likely to fall prey to biases, and research even suggests high EQ correlates with both strong rational thinking and good intuition. They can use different modes of thinking effectively.
Interesting. And what about conflict? Every team has conflict. How does EQ help leaders there?
Hugely. Emotionally intelligent leaders don't just react impulsively to conflict. Their self-awareness lets them manage their own response. Their empathy helps them understand all sides of the disagreement, the underlying needs and feelings.
So they can see beyond the surface arguments.
Exactly. They communicate respectfully, focus on the issue, not blaming people. They manage their own stress, which helps de-escalate things. They aim for win-win solutions, which actually strengthens relationships and trust in the long run.
So conflict becomes an opportunity for understanding, not just a fight.
Precisely. They use their self-awareness to stay calm, their listening skills to understand the root causes, and their social skills to guide the conversation constructively. It transforms conflict into something productive.
And the overall team atmosphere. How does the leader's EQ shape that?
It shapes everything. High EQ leaders foster environments of open communication, respect, psychological safety. Team members feel valued and heard because of the leader's empathy. That boosts engagement, motivation, productivity.
People are more willing to contribute and take risks if they feel safe and understood.
Absolutely. The leader's social skills help build cohesive teams and manage friction. They're often better at guiding teams through change with positivity and resilience. It just creates a more supportive, positive workplace culture overall. And again, research links leader empathy directly to higher team performance and collaboration.
It really sounds like it creates this positive upward spiral within the team and the organization.
It really does. It affects everything from individual well-being to the bottom line.
You know, talking theory is one thing, but seeing it in action is another. Are there any well-known leaders who really seem to embody this high EQ approach?
Oh, definitely. Looking at examples really brings it home. Satya Nadella at Microsoft is often cited. His big focus on empathy, inclusion, that learn-it-all culture, it's widely seen as key to Microsoft's huge resurgence and innovation drive.
Yeah, you hear a lot about the cultural shift he led there.
hmm Howard Schultz at Starbucks is another one. He always emphasized emotional connection with employees, who he called partners and customers. That focus on people was central to Starbucks' identity and comeback.
That sense of community and connection is definitely part of their brand.
It is. And Jacinda Ardern, former PM of New Zealand, her empathetic, compassionate leadership, especially during crises like the Christchurch attack or COVID, her ability to connect emotionally built incredible trust.
She was often praised for that very human, empathetic response in incredibly tough times.
Exactly. And you see it in others, too. Mary Barra at GM, maybe even historically, figures like Lincoln or Martin Luther King Jr. showed elements of high EI. And many companies now actively try to cultivate it. FedEx, Google, Zappos, Patagonia, Southwest Airlines. They see the benefits.
It's not just a nice to have, it's linked to real results.
Absolutely. The common thread is leaders connecting with people on an emotional level and that driving success.
So what are those tangible positive effects we see when leaders operate with high emotional intelligence?
You see improved company cultures, definitely. Places where employees feel genuinely valued and supported. That leads to higher engagement, better job satisfaction, lower turnover.
People want to stay where they feel understood.
Right. You often see more innovation and creativity because people feel safer taking risks. Decision-making gets better, considering both the rational and emotional angles. Customer loyalty strengthens because empathetic interactions build connection.
And handling tough times.
Much better. High EQ leaders navigate crises with more composure, reassuring their teams, and often this translates to better financial performance, market value, profitability. The evidence across sectors really points to a strong link between leader EQ and positive results, both the soft stuff like culture and the hard stuff like financial returns.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive on emotional intelligence, what's the main takeaway message you'd want listeners to hold on to?
I think the core message is that emotional intelligence isn't just a soft skill. It's absolutely vital. Crucial for effective leadership, yes, but also for building fulfilling personal relationships. It's all about understanding, managing, and navigating emotions, yours and others.
And the impact seems so wide-ranging, touching almost every part of life and work.
It really does. Better decisions, smoother conflict resolution, stronger teams, deeper connections. The benefits ripple outwards, and those examples of leaders show what's possible when you lead with heart, not just head.
And the most encouraging part, I think, is that it's learnable. It's not fixed.
Exactly. That's so important. Through self-reflection, mindfulness, practicing active listening, seeking feedback, anyone can develop these skills. It's a journey, not a destination, towards being more emotionally aware and effective.
It really empowers people to take ownership of their growth in this area.
It unlocks potential in so many ways.
That's a great thought to end on. So here's something for everyone listening to consider. What if you consistently applied just one of these 5 components: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, or social skills? How might that create a ripple effect of positive change in your interactions, maybe even your whole life? What small step could you take today? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.